Hello and welcome to the two lesser known Sasquatch, not a Bigfoot video. Before beginning this, I must inform you that my sinus infection from a few weeks ago has developed into a cold, so I'll be sounding a bit odder than normal for this one. Normally when I get too bad I have my wife cover for me, but sadly in this case she has the cold as well. So here we are. As many of you are aware, I have made my channel with the thought of not fully devoting a video to one of two topics. Those would be Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster. The only reason for this is due to there being so much information out there about each topic that I can't justify making a video about it, since I figure there isn't anything that I could add that would be interesting or new. Basically, you could ask anyone who doesn't know anything about cryptids about Bigfoot or Nessie, and they would know a good bit about the topic. However, due to random searches and a few suggestions in my comment section, I realized there were at least two lesser known varieties of Sasquatch that you may not be aware of. Although, I question if they are actually Sasquatch at all, in that I'll try to figure out if there's something else. Batsquatch. Unlike the name sounds, this isn't a cross between Bigfoot and a certain comic/movie superhero. This cryptid is reported to have been seen around Mount St. Helens in Skamania County of Washington State. Primarily, the original report seems to stem from when Mount St. Helens erupted on May 18th of 1980, but this creature has been spotted all over the United States as well. According to the 1980 sighting, a creature was seen flying in the clouds around the mountain as it began to erupt. However, I should note that no evidence of this original report has been found other than the hearsay that generated around it. The Batsquatch is a little odd in that the characteristics seem to change as to how it looks, to the point that I'm not sure what are the actual facts. Commonly it is said to be 9 feet tall, have blue fur, bird-like feet, leathery bat wings, yellow eyes, and sharp-pointed teeth. Now over time, a few things have changed minorly, while others are quite drastic. Much like the chupacabra, it has morphed into a totally different species with each telling. The original sightings say that it had the body of a primate, but others have stated it having more of a canine appearance along with a wolf head. The eye color has changed from a yellow hue to now being bright red, and the fur is no longer considered blue, but is described as being purple. As of late, the most common depiction of the Batsquatch is simply a large purple pterodactyl. With so many changes, it is hard to figure out the facts, but with some depictions, it does possibly lead to this cryptid, if real, being another more famous cryptid, which I'll get to a little bit later. As for being related to Sasquatch at all, it seems the only ties to the original primate with wings description, but even that is on shaky grounds. So let's get into some of the sightings. On April 19th of 1994, 18-year-old Brian Canfield was driving his truck near Mount Rainier at 9:30 in the morning when it abruptly shut off for no apparent reason. According to Brian, he said a large 9-foot-tall creature with blue fur, the head of a wolf, and large bat wings landed on the road in front of his truck. Not long after this, it unfurled its wings and took to the sky with a force that shook Brian's truck. Mysteriously, Mr. Canfield's truck was able to start again with no trouble, and he left the scene of the sighting. He later returned with his mother and a neighbor, but saw no signs of the creature. The aspect of the truck activity has led many to believe that the Batsquatch can control or interfere with machinery. On April 2009, two hikers were near Mount Shasta when they were surprised to see a large bat-like creature fly out of a crevice. They claimed it was as tall as a man and had an extraordinary wingspan with a report of 50 feet wide. With their sighting, they said it had the head of a bat or fox, which could fit with either description. There have been quite a few other sightings since the original, but the details are quite scarce on each report. So with the information that we have, what could this being possibly be? Personally, there are only 3 scenarios that fit with the story. However, there is a fourth going around that I'm not sure what to think about it, but I'll provide it to you for posterity. The first scenario is that this is a misidentified creature that is real, but unyet discovered. I mention misidentified only for the sake of this creature having so many varying discrepancies on how it looked. The second is one I normally don't mention, but putting it simply, it could be a hoax. Many eyewitnesses are sincere in what they claim to have seen, but with very little information to prove that fact, even in a simple news article, it makes things a little concerning. The third scenario, and one that seems to tie a lot of cryptids of this kind together, is that maybe this creature is a form of Mothman. Seeing as how it was originally seen near a natural disaster, the eruption of Mount St. Helens, as well as the red eyes and ability to affect machinery, this leads me down the path of the cryptid from Point Pleasant. The fourth is more of a theory that I read about, and as usual, I'll let you decide. But some claim it was and is an interdimensional being that was brought to our plane of existence when Mount St. Helens erupted. With this idea, it is claimed that the beast is now trapped here, and also explains why it is so rarely seen, meaning it is just one of them and not a breeding population. Sheepsquatch. Here's a cryptid that I knew very little about up until recently, but being as how it has Squatch in its name, it needs to be mentioned in this video. Many of you may have become familiar with this creature if you have watched the Destination America show Mountain Monsters. As a note, I view the show as fake, but I do enjoy it for entertainment purposes, and do commend them on sometimes getting some of the facts straight when talking about a cryptid. So what exactly is a Sheepsquatch? Other than the aforementioned show, the Sheepsquatch has surprisingly been around for quite some time, and early tales from its home in West Virginia. As usual with most of the sightings, this beast, also known as the White Thing, not to be confused with Swamp Thing, makes its home in Boone County, but has been seen in other areas including nearby Virginia. It should be noted that Alabama has their own version of a cryptid, also known as the White Thing. What is even more shocking is the fact that unlike the Batsquatch, this being has had quite a few detailed reports about its activities. The Sheepsquatch is described as being over 6 feet tall, white to yellowish white woolly fur covering its body, ram-style horns, a dog-shaped head with many sharp teeth. It has a long naked tail like a possum, hands shaped like raccoon paws, and its most distinctive feature is the strong odor of sulfur it gives off when it's in the area. The sulfur smell is often thought to come from the area in which it lives, which is Mason County, which at one time housed buildings that were used for TNT production. Not to mention this cryptid again, but in an odd twist, the Mothman, which is found in West Virginia as well, is also claimed to make old TNT buildings its home. Others have a different theory and claim that much like a mink, the Sheepsquatch has musk scent glands that produce the smell naturally. The first well-known reported sighting occurred in 1994 when two boys were playing in their backyard, and suddenly a creature they described as looking like a large white bear stood up. As if startled by the boys' activity, the creature ran away into the forest, breaking tree branches off as it tried to escape. In the same year, a Navy veteran by the name of Edward Rollins was in Mason County searching for evidence for the existence of Mothman when he got more than he bargained for. As he was walking along a creek, he heard a loud crashing noise, to which Mr. Rollins froze in his tracks. Edward saw a brownish-white creature emerge from the foliage and make its way to the water. He claims the fur looked like it was dirty and matted, but wasn't sure if it was stained white fur or light brown with a white undercoat. The creature, which he described as what the Sheepsquatch looks like, leaned into the water for a drink using its raccoon-like paws. After a bit, the creature ran off in the opposite direction. Edward mentioned that the beast gave off a pungent smell of sulfur that was overpowering. Normally this cryptid is fairly docile, but there are 3 reports that show that it can be aggressive. In 1995, a couple were driving in their car in Boone County when they noticed a strange white creature sitting in a nearby ditch. They stopped their car to get a better look, and the creature leapt out of the ditch and started attacking their car. Terrified, they sped off for home, and when they got out, they saw multiple deep scratches on their car doors. A story from 1999 goes that 2 campers were settling in for the night when they heard strange sounds outside of their tent. As they looked out into the darkness, they described a beast looking like the Sheepsquatch suddenly charging at them. The campers ran off to their nearby home, and as they got inside, they saw the creature turning away just as it hit the forest line and disappearing into the darkness. Later the next day, they returned to their campsite to find it destroyed and claimed it looked like someone had raked everything up as if you were tilling a garden. Honestly, other than the Sheepsquatch description, it sounds more like an aggressive bear to me. The final report came in 2015 when a group of campers saw the creature crouched on a nearby hill almost watching their every move. Suddenly the beast stood up and started running towards them down the hill, but stopped short as it came to a river separating it from the campers. The campers said it paced back and forth, trying to find a way across before deciding to ford the river. As soon as it got to the other side, a loud guttural screech was heard from farther up the river. The beast listened to the sound and turned around, leaving the campers alone. The group packed up their stuff and left the area shortly after. It is mentioned that the campers didn't want to be identified, nor wanted to report the encounter to authorities for fear of ridicule. Could the sound have been a Bigfoot protecting them, Mothman claiming his territory, or was it a pretty good scary story? Armed with all this information, what do you think of these two extra types of Sasquatch? Do you think they really exist, or are they something that looks good on a list of strange creatures? Also, what are your thoughts on how so many cryptids are tied with Mothman? As usual, if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing to my channel for more content like this, and I would greatly appreciate a thumbs up. With that, be safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.